Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the Halloween pet that ended up coming out yesterday of the Ghost Queen. We ended up going over this quite extensively during the Halloween stream, but given that it was an 11-hour stream, I'm pretty sure most of you didn't necessarily catch exactly when it was, so I figured we'd do a nice little separate video kind of just briefly going over it, and just some of the teams that can be viable for. Going to be showing 3 teams with it, all of which will be in the description of the video. One is my personal favorite team with it, so much so I even crafted a second Gray King. The other one is a bit of a soul farming team with it, though I don't think it's really going to be meta, but it might find its use here and there. And the other one's just kind of an early game team that uses a bunch of cheap options that you can end up using with it. Of course, this was given absolutely for free off of the adventure board yesterday. The most viable way to actually get it max is to just use a blue orb on it, as trying to get copies by other means is just not going to be worth it. I would wait until Golvania. If you do want to get this thing maxed without using a blue orb, I'd probably wait till a Golvania event. We don't have an official date for next Golvania event, but in about 2 or 3 months, we're likely to get a Golvania event, and you can max it out with event keys then, and you'll probably get a bunch of drops like Draculus and a few other things that would synergize pretty good with it. So basically, this thing is main gimmick, and the main reason why it's actually somewhat potentially viable is that it gives 50% mana start to all undead troops. Undead is a pretty bad category overall. However, one thing that undead does have is it has a lot of things that gain souls, and it has a lot of things that do true damage, and this combination can be pretty decent depending on what you're trying to go for in a given team. True damage, of course, hits directly to the HP value, basically completely ignoring the armor value that the enemy has. As far as its ability, it's pretty average. Steal 7 mana from the enemy. Keep in mind that both these terms do stay steal, so it does gain the stats themselves. So when it says steal 7 mana, assuming it has 7 mana, you will be gaining 7 mana back, meaning for 16 mana cost, you would only need 9 for his follow-up cast, assuming you got 7 from it. However, if they only have 5 mana, you do only get 5 of that mana. And then it also steals a bunch of life, boosted by purple gems at a 1-to-1 boost ratio. The amount of life steals kind of average, though it does get to up to at least a somewhat okay amount off the boost ratio. That would also boost pretty heftily in early game, so worth considering using in those kind of situations, as it gains a lot more value then compared to later in the game. And as far as its traits, they're all completely useless except for the main gimmick that it has, and the whole reason why you ever bother using it, which is the 50% mana start to all undead, the other two basically being useless. Anyways, let's get into some teams. So, Gray King. This team can be used with a Draculus instead as well, if you don't want to go double, how do you on earth do you spell Draculus in this game? He's spelled so weirdly with like the double A. But you can put a Draculus here if you so choose. However, I actually ended up opting for the double Gray King, and even went out of my way to craft a second Gray King so that we could do a team like this. So generally, you want to have teams whenever you're using a Gray King to actually have color overlap. Also, if you're still watching this while it's the previous event week, Gray King is actually still in Soulforge right now, oddly enough, for like 5 more hours or whatever it is. He's still in Soulforge. I actually went out of my way to get a second. I think it's the second thing we ever bothered crafting. But anyways, as far as what it's normally used for, it's normally used against teams that have a lot of different color overlap, ideally like 2 or 3. Here we could do like a double red, we could do a double blue, so it might be able to get away with it. Generally, you want it to have a lot of similar colors to whatever their best options is. Oddly enough, one thing that this works pretty decent against is a life and death team, because they have quite a bit of purple normally, so you can end up focusing your damage onto those. This team is very, very brown focused, so I will try for brown there. It does look like he has some freeze, so unfortunately we might get completely destroyed here, which might end up happening. We'll see. We'll move that over. Get a little bit of pokes. Can't really do much because we can't get our mana up. However, we are using a rather weird hero class right now. We are using the Death Knight hero class, not one you would normally use. It is the only hero class ever in the history of the game to have had its type change. It ended up getting a complete type change, and for this reason, it is actually undead now instead of a knight. So it does end up working for a 50% mana start from this. So do be wary of that. There is another undead hero class. It is the Necromancer hero class. However, Necromancer hero class already has a 50% mana start, so you don't really need to go and end up using it for that purpose. Unfortunately, we just cannot seem to get any of the mana we want. He's about to do a green to Doomskull convert. He's going to get it right over there, which will give him a little bit of value. But as you can see, due to us using Death Knight, even at level 1, as long as you get it fully traded, it does 4 times Death Mark the opposing team. Death Knight, while not the best of hero classes, generally considered one of the not so good ones, it does have its moments as far as what it can end up doing, because Death Mark, while relatively underwhelming, can just get a free kill out of nowhere. And whenever that does happen, it is very good, of course. So he's going to do a brown to Doomskull convert. No wonder why we have like none to use. So that's going to kind of get in the way of everything we want to do right now. I was going to go for a poke and just hope it does the death mark. Unfortunately, it does not. He's going to get so much value here. It is our turn, but we are frozen. However, we can try taking this in a really weird way where we like hit the blue or try to disable him. I kind of do want to go for the blue here and just hope that we just get some kind of amazing cascade, because we will not hit extra turn off of that, but we might be able to hit on some other color that he's not frozen on. And if we remove one of the colors that he's frozen on, maybe we'll have a better chance of doing so. Unfortunately, we don't, but we hit it with so much damage that it does die, and then we will be able to go for a little bit of a follow-up and just kind of kill it out from there. But yeah, as far as the strip is concerned, it almost reminds me of an Xenos, in the fact that it's super, super bad, but it kind of scales as you're going through the battle. Because as you can see there, he is constantly gaining life. He is getting bigger and bigger in that regard. So he is kind of upscaling ever so slowly and just kind of getting a little bit bigger. That's the only main one I kind of wanted to show, though we could maybe show the early game team. The early game team uses, well, as far as actually using it, I don't think we're going to use against that, though. That's too loopy of a team. As far as the soul killing one, this isn't going to be meta for soul farming, but I figured I'd show it. Jar of Eyes ends up creating a blue storm. You can start off a blue storm off of Death Knight as well. You then get your Jar of Eyes for even more blue. It explodes all the brown. You get your mana for Pharos Ra. Pharos Ra starts with half mana start because it is indeed undead. And of course, you get 50% mana start off the Ghost Queen. And then you have Pharos Ra just casting, doing its thing. After your first cast, you'll have a lot of damage for it. Your very first one will do very little damage, though, but you can maybe clean up first slot with it, poke it, and then go for a lot of damage. And then you just go for absurd amount of damage with how much it has with its souls. It basically one-shots everything by that point. Not the best of things, but hey, you gain a lot of souls. You'll have a 300% soul bonus as you're going through. You could maybe even put a white in there or something else that gains a lot of souls initially if you don't only have one Pharos Ra, and that will get your initial soul boost up, while also covering an additional color. So always an option to consider with it. Plus, it still has that little bit of poke damage. Anyways, other than that, let's go show the early game team and actually use against something. We'll go for a slightly weaker battle that won't completely obliterate us, though, since it is meant to be used a little bit earlier on in the game, but also not one so easy that we'll instantly win. We'll find a nice balanced team for this. Karandera, that wouldn't be an early game. Come on. Something a little more balanced. Come on, someone run like an off meta. Let's just do it on this one, I guess. So let's go run this team. So this team right here, all super cheap options. Assuming you got the Ghost Queen for free yesterday, every single thing on this team is a rare, and the weapon you get for free from 250 wins on the Silverglade Hero class, which is the, gosh, I actually forget what it's called. The something hero class. I actually forget which one is Silverglade's hero class now. The class of Archmagus is the one that you end up getting it off of. 250 wins on Archmagus on any of the battles that you use it in. Ends up giving you a free Reflection of Good. Plus, this hero class is pretty good, so double. You get two good things. You get the good hero class, and you get a good weapon. But yeah, basically this is our build, a +2 purple with a +1 blue. It's a Frost Wraith you end up getting by throwing Chaos Shards at Frostfarer Keep. It is a rare, so it should only take you like 100 or less to end up getting a copy of it. Should be pretty quick. But everything on this team, super easy to obtain, assuming you got the Ghost yesterday, so... all we have to really do here is just take a little bit of mana. This thing tanks like crazy. It is the lowest rarity troop in the game that has 65% reduction. There are only a few in the game that currently have this. However, this thing is super ridiculously cheap to get fully traded compared to every other thing that has it. Definitely worth considering. It is an absolutely insane tank, and giving it a half mana start just made it better than ever. It does have the restriction of hitting first slot. However, 65% reduction combined with a lifesteal is super strong. We then go for a white and clean it up. One nice thing about white too is it gives you souls. I already reached max capacity of souls. However, you will probably take 2 casts in early game in order to reach max souls. However, as your magic gets higher, you won't need as many. But we'll just keep going for our little bit of pokes there, keep tanking up there. We have Reflection of Good. Reflection of Good gives you every single positive status effect in the entire game. And obviously we want to use that on our frontline tank to even make him more unkillable. And it's pretty much the game plan. We can actually go disable his hero here. We're going to steal 7 mana from him, so we can actually use that mana reduction. And this thing does only have a 9 mana cost after that, so pretty easy to get it back to full mana after it does its first cast. Since every subsequent cast, assuming you're doing it on something that is at 7 mana or more, will only take 9 mana to get it back to full, so pretty good in that regard. We'll go for another lifesteal here. I kind of want to go for one of this thing's mana. We could do so for brown. We could also go for a skull. However, that's not going to get us the win, so we're going to do this. Let him get skull distracted, and then we can simply take him out with that. We get to steal 7 mana again, so once again, it only needs 9 mana to get to full. We'll go do one little Reflection of Good here. He luckily doesn't go for that. We then go for the buff on this, and as you can see, it gains every positive stats effect in the game. The most two noteworthy ones there being Barrier and Enrage. Barrier will protect it from 1 instance of damage, and Rage will do 1.5 times more skull damage, so we can easily kill them out for that 1 hit. Plus, it hits through all traits. He also still has Submerge. He also has Enchant, so if he didn't already have full mana, he'd have 2 per turn, and he also even has Reflect. So the first hit he takes while his shield is down will end up reflecting back 50% of the damage as well. So just makes him pretty unkillable. Like insanely unkillable from an early game perspective. He's not like literally unkillable, but he's pretty much not going to be dying to much, that's for sure. And then we just go for another little lifesteal, and there we go. And oddly enough, that almost worked better than the very first team we showed. But it's only because we kind of did it against a non-meta team. But it's something more realistic to what you'd see in early game anyways, the kind of team that we're just up against there. But yeah, pretty strong team to end up using with it. All really cheap options too if you're looking for something to use it with. But anyways, guys, I just wanted to briefly go over the new legends. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Hope you all had a wonderful Halloween, and I will catch you all later. Goodbye, everyone, and thank you all so much for watching, and we'll have the event video up for the week very soon. Goodbye, everyone.